What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Day1Radio right here on LivehiphopDaily. I'm Maurice Garland in the building with my man BP. What's happening, man?
Ain't nothing, man. What's going on with you?
Shit, a whole lot, man. You know what I'm saying? It seems like my summer is not winding down. You know what I'm saying? I've had an action-packed summer up to this day, and it's not winding down, man. How about you?
I no city boy summer. You got a grown man summer.
Right. Yeah, no city born over here, so
I'm chilling, man. Just grind mode, man. Grind. Appreciate y'all listening to the Airy Spirits episode. Got a lot of great feedback from that. So
I wish I could have been here for that, man, because it's like, it seems like he definitely gives off very surly vibes. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it was like that.
Yeah.
But you know, that's what we do.
Yeah.
So got him calmed down,
Yeah.
and it was end up being a good conversation, man. So we ain't gonna have to worry about the surliness this week at all. Man, we got the homie, man, a supporter as a homie and a supporter on the business end as well. Brandon Butler, CEO and editor-in-chief of Butter.ATL. If you're not familiar, you will be familiar by the end of this conversation. So, man, welcome, brother.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, man. Like I was telling y'all before, man, I feel like this is a moment. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, man,
it's
we
a
appreciate
moment,
you
man.
being here, bro.
Now we're finally talking on camera with this man. It's usually at a bar,
Yeah.
in some dark room.
It's off to the corner somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
For
Like,
sure.
we got it all documented right
Right.
now, man. So we gotta make it good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I appreciate it, man. Thank y'all for the invite, man.
Sure.
So obviously, anybody who's been paying attention the last few years, Atlanta drives a lot of culture. So even if you're not from Atlanta, ain't in Atlanta, you should be able to appreciate this one, man. So let's just start at the top, man. Just tell people what Butter.ATL is. I know you probably got an elevator pitch on that by now. And also, how did y'all come up with the name?
Yo, man. So yeah, as sad as it is, I still haven't got my elevator pitch down. If anything, I'm kind of like, and that's sad because I've done a lot of elevator
It's
pitches.
more like an escalator pitch.
Yeah, it's more like a Cliff Notes version. But,
Yeah.
in the simplest version, right, like, again, when you just think about Atlanta, to your point, so many things that happen out of Atlanta, like drive culture at a main level. Like, you see people on TV, music, just as some of the biggest things, and a lot of these folks have ties back to Atlanta. And, we recognize that. And so with Butter, as I always say, it's kind of the opportunity to kind of put Atlanta on that stage. The business side of it's like, oh, we're a media company that talks about Atlanta. But I just say, if you think about technology and everything, the reality is at this day and time, everybody has a cell phone. Yep. Everybody has like mobiles at scale. And besides that, like socials at scale, right? So everybody's on, Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. And so that's where they're consuming content. So Butter is just this idea of like, what if we created content in a world where mobile and social at scale, and like how would we tell stories when it's not just about a blog post or whatever, right? And so, again, like for us, we're just trying to create content that kind of like meets people where they're at right now, and where they're at is like looking at that device and consuming content kind of through different social platforms. So like we're big on IG, but beyond that, we are an actual media company. We're getting a lot more active on YouTube. We have some series that have been launching on YouTube, like really high quality long form content. I'm building a podcast studio over in Old Fourth Ward. We're gonna start cranking some stuff out. So, again, man, we're just a media company. As far as the name Butter, that's the one thing I got to get a better story about, because there's not like a great story about the name. I can definitely say it wasn't named after me.
Right.
Everybody thinks because my last name is Butler, like I just named Butter after me. But
right.
Like we were just kicking around different names to the team, and like we like names that are very like succinct, and a little like, I don't want to say like nonsensical, but just like, a little unique. And, I can't even remember like what some of the other names were, but like Butter, I don't know. I just saw it. And I think my first reaction was like, butter goes on everything. Like, I'm from the South. So I'm like, I put butter on my grits. I put butter on my biscuits. I put butter on damn near everything. And, I was like, so butter kind of goes on everything ATL. And it just kind of stuck from there. And, here we are now.
Okay.
So with the content that you guys are creating, like, what goes into like the decision making behind it? Because like when you check in on the platform, it always seems to have like a fun, jovial, jokey vibe for the most part. And I know that there's other media companies that are using social, and some of them they may only focus on this was your politicians doing, this was going on the West Bank, this is what's happening over here. So why did y'all choose to go more like this? Okay, laid back, lighthearted. We'll give you some knowledge about this city, but for the most part, we're here to have a good time and have fun type vibe.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's infotainment, right? I think, I was actually just having this conversation with somebody earlier today, but, my background's actually in technology. A lot of folks don't realize that. Like, my background's in IT and computer science. Like, I was a developer for a long time, and one of the things that my professor taught me back in college, shout out Georgia Southern, was you need to be a translator. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I've kind of created this situation where, especially in like media and everything, where like we translate like content and context and kind of like create a piece of content around it. So I think there are things that, are obviously more serious that we want to get into, mm-hmm. but the reality is, there's enough, fear and doom and gloom on TV and news. And so I think we just think about like, how can you educate people in an entertaining way? Like that's what we're kind of trying to like, really kind of find that right valve for. And again, we do it with like Atlanta content, but again, think about what's happening with the election is going to be coming up next year, right? Like people need to get educated about these facts. A lot of folks don't realize the number one way to win an election is just to keep the other folks from voting. It's not to get more voters, it's to disinterest the other side to actually vote for the other candidate. So for us, it's like, how can we create content and information that's informative and like you might fuck around and learn something when you watch it, right? And I think it's that finding that right mix all the time.
Okay, that makes sense. And speaking of, you kind of got practice in that with the governor election.
Yeah.
Earlier, last year.
Yeah, it was last year with it.
Last year, that was pretty entertaining as far as state elections go, for sure. So
well, even with that, right? Like it was just, one thing I'd always, again, growing up in Atlanta, I always had this desire to kind of like redesign the voting sticker.
Okay.
And so we basically redesigned the Georgia Peach I'm a voter sticker, and it said I give a damn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And because that was the whole thing, right? Like, I get it. People have different political affiliations. But at the end of the day, I just want people to like care and actually want to be involved in the process, because, a lot of times folks don't care, they don't get involved, and they want to complain the whole time. So for us, our whole message was just like, give a damn. Like, whoever you're going to vote for, just go vote. You know what I'm saying? And it really kind of got viral, and like celebrities are picking it up, and that kind of just showed me again, like there was definitely an appetite for this kind of content.
Like, speaking of getting folks involved, one thing I did notice about Butter is it seems to be for everybody, because everybody seems to show up on there, whether it's, the well-known celebrity or the local celebrity, or hell, just somebody that might just work at AT&T all day. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what goes into choosing who gets involved? Because, the thing about Atlanta is, it's a double-edged sword. It's like, yes, this has been known as, the rap capital, Black Hollywood and all that, but a lot of people can feel like, well, damn, man, if I ain't famous, I guess I just can't hang out anywhere in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? But it seems like with this platform, y'all are leveling the playing field. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we definitely try to be open, right? Like, our definition of culture is, people like us do things like this. Mm-hmm. And so I always say, like, the people of Atlanta, like, Atlanta's the only city where you can go to, the High Museum. You can go to Creative Mornings in the morning. You can go to the High Museum for lunch. You can go to, like, Magic City for like afternoon, or you can go to Follies, if you're trying to catch like the afternoon sweat, right? And then you gotta go to Waffle House at the end. Right. You know what I mean? And like that's Atlanta, and it's cool, and you see all kind of people like walks of life and stuff. So, one of the hardest things has just been, and I appreciate it. The folks have like accepted and embraced it, but definitely the hardest thing, I've been so surprised by just how many people want to be involved with it, and just again like trying to manage that. So there's not like a certain thing. Like, I don't look at Butter like, oh, you got to have this many followers, you got to have like this kind of presence. I think it's right now, just because I still have a small team and we're like making stuff happen, it's just you got to be kind of at the right time and the right moment. But ultimately my goal is to build something to where it's just a platform. Like I always kind of said, I wanted Butter to be that thing that everybody could kind of like go through. I want people to be like, go back in their career and like point and be like, yo, I was on Butter. Oh, you was? I was on Butter too, right? And
gotcha.
So, at scale, like ultimately I want Butter to be that thing to where, again, it doesn't matter if you got, 1 million or you got 100. If you got something to say and it's relevant and you are tied back to the culture, I want to find a way to help give you a platform and tell your story.
When y'all get the D this year for Decatur, y'all gotta have Maurice on there doing Atlantopedia.
Maurice said he ain't want D. He said he want another letter, man. He said he want pause. No, he said he want another letter. He said he wanted. Yeah, like that. He said he wanted a different letter, so we got a celebrity. We making sure we accommodating him. Y'all
gotta have Reese on Atlantapedia. That'll be. But
we definitely we're talking to his agent right now. We're doing negotiation.
Make it happen, man. I always like your definition of culture. So for you and your team, though, as culture rapidly changes in Atlanta, since Atlanta is rapidly changing, like, how do you keep up and make sure that you are on point, not only with what you know, but also what's going on, like changing quickly?
Yeah, I always say, I try to focus on being this term like polyethnic, which I kind of stolen from Steve Stout a little bit.
Okay.
But again, like the reality is,
stole a lot from a lot of other people, so it's okay.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And but it resonated with me. Like, I grew up on the east side in Stone Mountain, Redan, you know what I'm saying? You know how we do. So, and at this point we're at now, right? Like, when I grew up going to Redan and just on the east side of Stone Mountain, like I went to a black elementary school, an all black middle school, all black high school.
Same.
Like, there was like 3 white kids. There was like White Mike, like 3 other white kids, and now, then I ended up like going to Georgia Southern and going to Georgia Tech, and I got like exposed to kind of a whole different, like I learned like, I like Pink Floyd. I like other types of music that just ain't trap music. I like So for me, the big way with Butter is we try to have a very diverse team. Anybody that's met the Butter team knows that we have all types of people on the team. It's not just all black folks or whatever. And again, like polyethnicity means that who you are ethnically might not be who you are culturally. There's a good chance that again, when I grew up in Stone Mountain, again, I was black. Both my parents are black. All my friends had black. But now you have a black and a white parent, or you have a Hispanic parent and a white parent. But you still appreciate culture in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so for us, I think it's just been very important to have a lot of diverse perspectives kind of in the room. They educate me about stuff I haven't heard all the time.
Right.
And I think that's where we kind of like keep it honest, but also like find those like right pockets of authenticity.
Speaking of which, man, it's like I did notice this though. So, not to say that all these things can't coexist at the same time, but like for instance, earlier this week or maybe late last week, y'all had like a comedian like Desi Banks on there.
Yeah.
Desi Banks, we know exactly who his audience is and who he creates content for. But then it's like if you scroll back, to like Butter's beginnings, y'all have videos with white folk playing with dogs on the belt line. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, as far as like where it's going right now, like do you think it's like shifting more towards like, okay, Atlanta is black and black folks are clicking on this shit, or you're still trying to keep it more like, okay, look, man, we're gonna be talking to folks that walk their dogs around up in Midtown too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. We're talking to everybody. I mean, again, I think the thing is like I got a dog.
Yeah.
I'm a pet owner, right? My dog Bentley. I've had my dog Bentley because I couldn't afford a Bentley, so I got a dog and I named him Bentley. I had Bentley for 10 years.
Yeah.
But I think again, like it's just finding those areas that just like resonate with people. Again, I people have asked me before. I always say like, this isn't a post for the black folks. Yeah. This isn't a post for the white folks. This is just a post for people. And the other part is like, I push the team to experiment and try stuff just to see, right? So like even in doing that post about, I know you're talking about like dogs on the belt line,
which was funny as hell. Like I enjoyed it.
There was some context in there we kind of learned, but like. One of the things I've also learned too is like, so on the flip side of that, one thing you'll notice about Butter is like we really haven't really hit on music as much as I would like to. And as a Outkast fan #1, as a aficionado of trap music, I just want to make sure that even when we go down that path, we do it the right way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't want to go down that path and be like, all right, we talking a Lil Pistol Starter. And like, you know what I mean? It's just like we talking to Fofo, and you know what I mean? Like I want to find that right method. So again, like we try to balance it out, and I think if anything, right now, a lot of stuff you see is us trying different things and talking to different audiences. But ultimately, we try to find stuff that like anybody can relate to.
Yeah. 'Cause I remember that one video y'all had with the dudes racing on the scooters. Like y'all had like the lime versus
it was
the
like
bird.
a lime versus the bird thing. Yeah, and again, we just were like, okay, let's just see what happens. Again, I think that's the thing for me is like, I don't. Again, remember, I come from a technology background, and so in technology, we have this thing called MVPs, minimum viable product, right? In other words, the biggest mistake people make when they build an app or a website is they start with what I call version infinity. They start with like what they think the end version is going to be like, and that end version is so much driven by like your audience and your market that if you're not actually like constantly putting stuff out and iterating, you're gonna fail. So
right, you're kind of guessing what's actually gonna work instead of actually looking at the data.
Yeah, so we put out stuff all the time to where I don't necessarily know if it's gonna like get a bunch of likes, but I don't care as much as, is this giving me an indicator that like our audience actually likes this kind of content or this resonates with them?
Right. So somebody from the tech world, I'm pretty sure this was one of the first things that came to your mind. What do you do to combat the issue of hosting your platform on somebody else's platform?
Yeah, I mean, with that, you just have to be smart. Like, so the biggest thing with us is ever since we launched Butter, because I understand technology, we've done some very intentional things to kind of build a list off of Instagram.
Gotcha.
Because the reality is, like, I mean, if anybody remembers, not that long ago, like Instagram, like, basically shut down for a whole day.
Yeah, I remember.
And there was a lot of like Instagram models with Gmail for booking accounts that like was probably sweating and doing stuff like that. But for us, you know, I was actually having this conversation today. Like, in my opinion, Instagram, like I wake up every morning and pretend Instagram is dead, if you want to believe it or not. Like, I'm already asking myself, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
And you know, for us, you'll start, again, you've seen us, we started doing more stuff on YouTube. Like, we're doing more long form content has been rolling out. We have a couple series that are coming out. Atlantapedia, you know, Whipped, Sneakerheads, like all these different series. But then beyond that, it's like looking at like what's next. And that's what I always recognize as a technologist. You know, again, like, yo, shout out Lil Nozick, right? Like, understand, I just had this conversation again. This cat literally made a song like at his sister's house for like $35, you know, 30, 40 bucks. And he is the #1 song of all time. And a lot of that is because he was active on TikTok. And most people don't even have TikTok installed on their phones. They're like, oh, that's a little kid's app.
Yeah.
So for us at Butter, guess what I'm doing? I'm getting us a TikTok account set up. I'm looking and saying, like, what is the next potential thing? And like, how can we get involved in that platform, that audience? And as I always say, like, take up surface area. Because the reality is, again, if you get in these platforms early, it's no different than IGTV on Instagram, right? Like, if you actually adopt IGTV, because I understand technology, Instagram is going to make sure that content gets pushed out. So TikTok right now is the same way. IGTV, LinkedIn, like, how can we find these other platforms where there's opportunity and organic reach and leverage that while also still kind of staying true to what we're doing on IG?
That's super real. And it's funny you brought up Lil Nas X, because it's like, even though unfortunately there was no sample clearance, so it's a lot of publishing he ain't gonna get. But I'm like, shit, I don't know what a 9 Inch Nail song sound like either. Like, I wouldn't have known this. But what I thought was crazy, I just did a walkthrough at the bakery on the west side like a couple weeks ago, and I was talking to the person who runs it, and I was like, oh yeah, because I was like, what about this room over here? And she was like, oh, we only use it here and there. I was like, I saw Lil Nas X perform in that room like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And the only reason I stayed to see him perform was like, who is this little nigga using Nas's name? So I wanted to see what the hype was about or whatever. And 2 years later, he has the biggest song in the world.
Bro, it's crazy, man. Like, it's just so crazy, again, the opportunities that just like technology and internet kind of afford. Like, if you really think about, if you really think about the way that his life has changed forever. He has the #1 song of all time. Like, it's on Billboard. It's crazy.
Just doing shows, merch, streaming. He should never have to work again.
Bro, he gets him a residency in Vegas.
He
might sing Old Town Road for the next 20 years.
Dude, if he does nothing else after this summer, he should have made at least 10 to 15 million over this period of time of the song.
Guaranteed.
Like, easy. I hope. It sucks that they didn't try to clear the sample early on. I don't know who in the world the musicologist is at the label he's at that wasn't like, okay, this shit might blow. Let's go and pay these people real quick. But once that shit hit #1, bro, it's a whole other conversation. That's that Warren G. regulator situation. Like, I need 95% of the publishing, and y'all have fun.
So, in building this out, has it been smooth sailing as far as like getting people like behind it? Because I know that a lot of times in any city, really, like when you're coming out with a new platform, just a new product, period, and it may not be attached to like the popular people yet in the quote unquote influencers, you know what I'm saying? So like, has it been a smooth sailing, like getting people actually behind it? Because, you know, in Atlanta, if folks don't know you like that, they're like, So who is that got the audacity to claim that they Atlanta for real and that they got an Atlanta platform? I don't know them. You know what I'm saying? So what has it been like on that front?
Nah, man. I mean, yeah, early on, I ain't gonna front, man. I mean, it was a lot of that. You know, again, I'm a tech guy. Like, I've been behind the scenes. I know a lot of people just from being in the business, but behind the scenes. You know, I have relationships, but like, you know, I heard it a lot early on. It's like, yo, who the fuck are you? You know, like, I heard it. I mean, straight up. Like, straight up.
Folks used to text me like, hey, man, who the fuck is this?
Yeah. Like, you know, I've reached out to people and, like, they've debated me on, like, how you going to be different than the Shade Room? Like, so that means you don't want to do an interview? Like, that means, like who cares what this is different than the Shade Room? And so honestly, again, I recognize that kind of early on. So I always say, like, you know, that was probably one of the hardest things, just being like trying to get that credibility. And for me, it was a couple things. One, it was just being consistent.
Right.
You know, I think, you know, one thing just again with like startups and business, right? Like, a lot of people have ideas, but they don't always sustain it. And so for me, it was like, all right, let's just show up every day. Like, if we show up every day, they can't say nothing then. Right. Like, if we show up for like 2 months and we disappear, that's one thing. But like, we're here like every day.
You gotta be consistent.
You gotta be consistent. The other thing has just been quality. And then the other part is like, I fuck with people that fuck with us. Like, I don't, like, okay, cool. Like, if you don't, because I'm telling you, it comes back around.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I also take it a little personal when we get so many emails and DMs that I can't get back to people because I don't want to be treating the next person like that. Right. And so it's a little bit of a double-edged sword because like things have gotten busy and I just can't get back to every single person. But like the reality is we fuck with people that fuck with us. And so like I always give people, like Maya Bailey has all the respect in the world for me because when we first launched Butter, I did not know Maya. He didn't know me from a man on the moon. And I like hit him up randomly, and he was like, "Yeah, come through." Like he didn't even give it a second guess. Like he just was like, "Okay, come on, whatever you want to do." Though. Yeah, solid dude, right? Yeah. And we worked with him on a bunch of stuff, and then just like even just seeing that let me know, like, all right, like even though I can't get in contact with some people, I got to talk to agents and managers. Yeah. Like there are people out here that just get it. And I mean, like to this day, like I got so much respect for just like Maya and all the stuff he's doing with like Peter Street Station and City of Ink and like learning about that because again, like he just for no reason at all, he just was like, sure. And just said yes. And like that was one of the things that I think helped us kind of keep going.
Disagree. It's not for no reason at all. I think real recognize real.
Yeah,
at the end of the day. It's a lot of full of shit people out here. So when you encounter somebody that's not, then you go out of your way.
Yeah, man. So like I said, mad respect to them. But yeah, man, it's been hectic. But again, at the same time, you just show up every day, you do the work. You know, we just put our heads down. Yeah, I ain't going nowhere. And I think that's the part where people are like, all right, he ain't playing. You know, like this ain't just a guy in the basement or in a garage doing this. Like this is a legit thing. And so I just been like, let's just do the work and let that speak for itself, you know?
So let's have a little fun, man. I had some Atlanta questions for you.
Run it.
You got to choose either or. This is one of y'all ran this week. Wings or flats? I mean, flats or drums, excuse me. Flats or drums?
Bro, I do flats, man. I mean,
nuggets.
I do flats, man. I mean,
I'm a drum guy myself. I don't know.
I don't know, man. It's something about it. I only like legs on women. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I only like legs on women, man. So
what about you, Reese?
Nuggets. No, but I mean, I've never really gotten heavy into that debate, man. I mean, let's see. I have ordered all drums before, though. I don't think I've ordered all flats.
They charge extra for that? Because at American Deli, they charge extra for all flats. I've never actually asked for all drums.
Yeah, I've gotten all drums before, you know what I'm saying? I don't remember ever asking for all flats before, so I'm going to assume I'm a drums person then.
For sure.
All right. Magic City or Nicky's?
I thought you were gonna say Montrez.
Nah.
I was gonna say, yo. So I mean, you know what? I got some special memories of Nicky's growing up back in the day when I used to go to Morehouse and like that was back when it was on Stewart Ave. You know what I'm saying? It's like we would go down to the little
in front of the run and shoot.
In front of the run and shoot, you know, we would go down to the little spot. We get us a bottle of Bacardi Limon. Then we'd ride up, and my boy had an Ac Integra. And we'd ride this Ac Integra and go to Nicky's. So I just gotta say Nicky's off GP, man.
All right.
But Montrez was the first spot I ever went to, and I might have been 12.
most.
Everybody's
I was like 12, 13 years old.
I wasn't that young, but that was the first strip club
I swear I saw Eartha Kitt. I swear I saw Eartha Kitt there, bro.
Hilarious. 5'9" or 112.
Oh, that's a good one, man. I'm gonna say 112, man.
Okay.
I had some
Bougie Negro.
I had some good times. Yeah, you know, I was up in. I had my New River shirt on. You know, I had my Jay Riggins back in the day. You know.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Jay Riggins.
I had my Jay Riggins,
You
my
took
New
it
River
back.
on. You know what I'm saying? My structure.
You took it back. God damn. Jay Riggins. I ain't heard that so long.
Jay Riggins used to go hard.
Jay
though.
Riggins just go hard, bro.
I ain't heard that.
No,
Oh my
well, y'all
God.
saw that Eddie Bauer expedition. Y'all thought it was a game, but Jay Riggins was that lit.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I know what you're gonna say on this one, but Outkast or Goody Mob?
Bro, Cast, man.
Okay.
Cast, man. I actually own, so like when Outkast's first album came out, one I remember when I bought the Players Ball single at Blockbuster Music at I think North DeKalb Mall, but like.
Is that the one you used to work at?
No, I used to work at Blockbuster Video on Western Chapel.
Got it.
Right, I used to go in that one. I know exactly where you at. But I always say like, so if you remember, like on the first Outkast CD, on the inside there was like a mail order form, and I actually filled it out, and because it was like Andre was selling artwork, and he was selling like those Lady Lava paintings, like signed and numbered. And so, like, I just, and remember, this is so old, it was like, yo, fill this out and send it in with a mail order.
I remember that stuff.
And so I literally sent it in and filled it out, and like a month, 2 months later, I get a tube in the mail from Andre, and I have to this day, I have a signed and numbered Lady Lava poster.
Wow,
like
wow.
print, framed, it's in my kids' playroom. Like, so Lady Lava's like watching over my kids in the playroom and everything.
That's
so
very.
I'm Outkast fan number one, man.
That's what's up. Last one. Trap. I know you're the ambassador of Trap, but you also own Atlanta. Trap or Krunk?
Oh, dog. Okay, man. I gotta go with Krunk, man. Like I was listening to that old that Too Short. Couldn't be a better player than me.
Yes,
bro, that right there has gotta be.
Yes, sir.
Because it was funny because I heard that 2 Chainz, he got that remix, that Statue of Limitations. And I was like, nah, bro. Couldn't be a better player. That I gotta say, that verse by Short on that joint, get the bitch on the phone, let's see who's lying. That just makes you just want to flip over the table, dog. Like, that is the heart of this. I'm Krunk all day long, man. I still listen to everything from, don't make me go back, man, to like old school, Outkast, Mr. Cool, Goody Mob, 8 Ball and MJG, come like anything Krunk, Lil Jon, anything Krunk, Kilo, anything Krunk back in the day. I'll turn that on all day long, man.
Most definitely. I gotta say, man, with Butter, that's one of the very few things where I was like, that's it. Like, you know how you have an idea and you're like, people should do this because media is changing so much now, and city magazines, city things are always the dopest shit to me. I travel a lot, so I want to know what's happening, what's going on, what makes sense. And y'all nailed that shit, bro. Like I like 1,000 times y'all nailed it. And that's coming from somebody who has written or worked for damn near every publication that matters. So,
I appreciate it, man.
My question is there, and this is a question we've had one-on-one personally, do you see this as something that's scaled to other cities?
Yeah, originally, like, when we kind of launched Butter, I mean, we were obviously, like, hyper-focused, and I kind of say, like, it was, like, Atlanta talking about Atlanta.
Yeah.
Now I think we're trying to get to a point where it's, like, Atlanta talking about everything.
Okay.
And I think there's a way to do that to where we can still be authentic, and, like, I'm not here to turn my back on, like, the Atlanta audience, but the reality is, like, people from Atlanta and Atlanta drives culture at a macro level. Yeah. Period. So, like, when you go see different situations, again, Lil Nozick, for example, the #1 song of all time now is somebody from Atlanta.
Right.
Like, there's a way to talk about that and share that story from an Atlanta point of view, but also talk about it in a way that it's relevant to people outside. Because that's all I'm saying is I'm just tired of, like, people not from here telling us what to say and think and, like, giving their own perspective, right? Like, we have the talent here to, like, have those same conversations and tell those stories. And so for me, I look again like situations like the Lil Nas X situation. It's like we can talk about that and we can be the voice to say like that's relevant, but let me explain to you why that matters or why that's important from like the place where it's from, not just like from some like New York or LA perspective.
You guys have grown super rapidly, like even in the last few months. What and I know you're heavy on the data and analytics. What percentage would you say of the people that follow and watch what you guys do regularly are not people that live here?
So, I mean, from what I can tell, I think about 70 to 80% of our audience is like Metro Atlanta area, which I'm like super proud of.
Yeah.
Right. So again, like for us, we're like almost at like 30K right now on IG specifically. So again, for us to have 70, 80% of those people like in Atlanta, I think is like super important. And I think that the other part is we get a lot of like comments and notes from people that don't live in Atlanta anymore, and they're like, this reminds me of home. So again, Atlanta drives culture. Like, again, if you've read everything from The Tanning of America by Steve Stout or just paid attention to what's going on in the world in general, you know that there's somebody from Atlanta involved in pretty much everything in some way, shape, or form, especially when it comes to like culture, right? And so I think, again, that opens up the aperture for us to kind of like, again, talk about lots of different things, but again, like give it to them from a perspective that's relevant and matters here, locally, you know what I'm saying? Because we have our own point of view and we don't need other people like telling the stories for us.
So what about the perspective of, say, somebody in Miami or somebody in New York or whatever is like, bro, I love what you're doing. I'm not just going to jack it. I want to work with you to duplicate that model where I'm at. How about something like that?
I think for that person was hit up, it's like, let's talk about it and let's figure it out. Yeah. And I mean, one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with is understanding what not to do and what's not a fit and versus what is a fit, right? And so for me, it's still just a conversation, and that wasn't something that I don't want to say prepared. I wasn't really prepared for it. Like I thought, like, oh man, bring it all. But I get hit with so many opportunities now. Like I actually have to be okay. It's only one me. It's only so many people on the team.
Right.
Like we have to be a little bit picky about what we want to involve ourselves in, which is great. But it's also, again, like I want to make sure that I'm not shutting down the next potential butter. You know what I mean? Or shutting down the next person that like has an idea. So right now, I just say like I take all comers. The only thing I just ask is that people just don't put all the responsibility on me. And I actually like made a video on LinkedIn about this. It's like the worst way to work with butter is to be like, yo, we should work together. Why? Like, what do you do? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Just fill in the blanks. Like, don't make it on me to be like, oh, let me go research this person and see where the fit might be. Like, again, come to us with a little bit of a concept or an idea or just some context as opposed to being like, we should work and then putting it all on me to like get back to you and figure everything out. I think if you can like meet us in the middle and then we can start, it just makes it easier and more efficient. Because I want to work with, like, I don't want to turn anybody down, but I can't take every phone call. I can't sit in every meeting. I mean, again, I'm to the point now where I have 15-minute meetings. Yeah. Because I get hit up so much, and that's weird to me. Yeah. Like, it's weird to me to be like, yo, I can meet with you, but I can only meet for you for 15 minutes.
Trust me.
But I'm trying to make time for people.
But you know what, really, sometimes 15 minutes is all you need for some folks.
Yeah, that's all you need.
It's nothing worse than having a meeting scheduled for an hour.
Oh, no, I don't do
and
that.
And you finish the business by 27 minutes. And then people start talking just because they know you got another 33 minutes left.
Nah, bro.
It's
I
like,
got a hard stop.
Let's get up out of here.
I have a hard stop in 15 minutes. Like, that's how I lay that down.
Shit, I need to get there. That's what I want to get in my life. I had to tell people every day, like, fam, you asked me to do something, let me do it. Please stop hitting me up. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I feel like I got a hard stop. I'm happy to talk to you, but like, you know, it's just been interesting because I've just had to find ways to be efficient because, again, I want to talk to people, but, you know, like one thing I've been doing is a lot of video calls. I'm like, okay, we'll talk, and like I love it, but all I got 15 minutes. Can you get on like Google Hangout or like Skype?
I'm about to add that to my life goals. 15-minute meetings.
Like if
I can go the rest of my life where the majority of my meetings are 15 minutes, I'm winning.
If you want to meet me for an hour, you got to have a good reason, or you better have a damn check. Like I'm just saying, like, because it's hard, man. It's literally hard for me to be like, I have an hour to like just talk about whatever and just sit around like during the day. I'm glad but I just don't.
Yeah, that's super rude. You talked about like the future and this being a media company. I know that you were podcasting like crazy long ago. So what are some, especially now that times have changed so much in the business, it's actually a business now.
Yeah.
It's not just a hobby. What are some of the things that you guys have planned that you can share for podcasting as well as the long form content that you guys are doing?
Yeah, I mean, for us, you know, I always say like franchise video content is kind of the word I always use, right? Again, I want to create content that's kind of like evergreen. You know, so if you go and you check out like some of the stuff we've done at Atlanta PD or like the series we had with DJ Scream, like we had, you know, Big Gip, you know, walking through Stankonia Studios talking about how he had the car where Outkast first rapped at, or, you know, Maya Bailey like talking about why he started Peter Street. Like, to me, that stuff is timeless. And so that's the kind of content that I want to kind of create. I always say like there's, you know, the BuzzFeeds, the hands and pans is what I call it. Like, how many times you can watch somebody from the top down, like making a fucking grilled cheese sandwich. So for us, it's like, how can you make that like franchise? Yeah, hands and pans is what I call it. Like, how can you make that like franchise, high quality content that's like evergreen, that y'all can watch this story today, I can watch it 6 months from now or a year from now, and it kind of, because I don't know when people are going to discover it. You know, from a podcast standpoint, you know, again, I just believe that audio is the future. That's why, again, y'all boys have been killing it. I love everything y'all doing, but like audio, I think, is the future, man. Like, everywhere we're going, you know, people are so busy that they just need, and again, I'm saying this from a technology standpoint too, right? Like, again, like people are so busy. I know I listen in my car, I listen to pretty much, if I'm not listening to trap music or like old Krunk, I'm listening to either books on tape or a podcast. Yeah. You know, I'm trying to be efficient with my time, right? And so that's why I think audio is so powerful. That like you can be working out and listen to a podcast. You can be working out and listen to a book. I read on average probably 2 books a week just via books on tape. I'm talking about like thick Robert Greene 500-page books, because I also listen at 2 times speed because I'm like extra like that. But it's like, so I mean, if you literally go back, I probably read 30 books this year. Wow. That are like substantial books because I've been in my car. But like, I know that when I get home, I don't have time to like sit down and like crack open a book and read, right? So that's why I think audio is so powerful. And that's why, again, like podcasts, just anything audio related, like Alexa, you know, all that stuff. I'm telling you, man, that's the future, man. That is the future.
No, it is, man, because it's catalog. Like, you don't know what's gonna hit. I was just, something that we did popped up on my YouTube the other day. I was like, oh shit, I didn't even know this had this many views. Like, had no idea, hadn't thought about it in a long time. And then people will DM us regularly because, you know, iTunes cuts shit off at a certain point. Yeah. Be like, hey, you got the link to the first episode y'all did with Master P. I'm like, that shit was 5 years ago. Yeah, let me dig it up and send you the link. Download that shit next time. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But that happens kind of regularly, which is dope. You know what I mean? So people are paying attention for sure.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, podcast is the future. I'm just saying, like, the way everything's going right now, like, everything's getting commoditized, right? And, like, if you understand, people are lazy. Like, the reason why people don't use Siri and all that stuff the way they could is just because it doesn't understand context. Mm-hmm. Like, I need Siri to be like, yo, Siri, I'm hungry. But I need Siri to understand, like, let's say you're a vegan. Does Siri understand that you're a vegan? Yeah. And the results that Siri gives you back are all vegan results. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying, right? Like, we're getting into a world, and that's where technology is so interesting, because there's this term you might have heard, like 5G going around. Like, we're going to get to this space to where communication is going to be so instantaneous, you know, to where you can actually, like, have that expectation of technology. And so, again, when somebody's like, I will listen to the best podcast, like, how can Day One position himself to be like, okay, well, you're located in Atlanta, so you mean the best podcast in Atlanta? Boom, here's the number one. Like, I'm telling you, any brand right now should be trying to figure out, the same way everybody wanted to be the number one Google search result, how do you become the number one Alexa search result? That should be your number one priority.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's real shit. And you smart enough to figure that out, so let us know.
I got you.
Butter can be number one, we can be number 2. It's all good. We gonna make that thing happen. Yo, but man, we really appreciate you coming through. Please tell people where they can find you, where they can find Butter.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So definitely, I mean, our biggest platform is on Instagram, Butter.ATL. That's Butter.ATL. You know, obviously online, Butter.ATL.com, and then, you know, our big push is also we're getting a ton of content launched on YouTube. So again, just go to YouTube, type in Butter.ATL, Butter Atlanta. I got it optimized for all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Nice. But yeah, just Butter.ATL. You'll find us. We'll show up in the results somewhere, and then you'll go down the rabbit hole.
For sure. Appreciate you coming through, brother.
Thank y'all for the invite, man. It's a long time coming. You know what I'm saying? We in there now.
Like we said, on camera with official microphones.
Yeah. For sure. All right, man. We'll holler at y'all next week with another dope show. Until we see you again, make sure y'all go and stream and download that E40 Practice Makes Perfect. Shit is amazing. Got a shout out to the homie Earl.
Practice makes paper.
Practice makes paper, yes. Got a shout out to the homie Earl. Much appreciated for dropping that crazy album. We'll see you next week. Peace.